Hello out there. Hello? 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 Hi, I'm Pat Monahan, and you are tuned in to the Patcast. We just got back from a great trip to Australia. Sydney was beautiful. That's the only place we went on this particular trip. We had a blast in Vegas this week, playing at the Wine Amplified Festival with our good friends from Better Than Ezra and also Michael Fronte and the Spearhead Group. It was our second time there, and that festival just keeps getting bigger and better. More bands, more wine, more fun, more... Pergo broke his foot the first time. He didn't break anything this time, which is unfortunate. We'll work on it again next time. A couple of weeks ago, we, Train, were in New York City doing a ton of promo for our new album and playing a lot of shows. We played a show at Radio City Music Hall. The morning of that show, Jerry, Pergo, and myself left our hotel to go to a restaurant called West Bank Cafe in Midtown Manhattan. You got to check that place out. Our guest on today's podcast was meeting us there. His best friend, one of his best friends, owns it. And when we saw him, I thanked him for making the time for us and promised we wouldn't keep him too long. He said, "Shut the fuck up." That's the way he said to me, because that's the way that's how that goes, that friendship. And led us to a small theater underneath the cafe, a place that he has spent many nights performing and hosting, and where years ago he was named playwright in residence. Lewis Black, the amazing comedian, the amazing person. He grew up in the 50s in Silver Spring, Maryland, and spent his college years in North Carolina. But it's hard to imagine him ever being anything but a tough, salty New Yorker. He's a trained playwright and a true artist, but his greatest gift to the world has been his keen and unique ability to expose the bullshit around us and make us laugh at the same time. As a stand-up comedian, he's developed a style that's informed by the work of the late, great George Carlin. And in turn, Lewis's style has taught some of the best in today's new comedy. If it wasn't for Lewis Black's comedy, it's hard to imagine people like Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert and others ever existing. And Black has, in fact, been a correspondent on The Daily Show on and off for years with his Back in Black segments. All of us here at the Patcast absolutely love this guy's work. Not only is he really funny and a really great guy, but hearing someone tear apart the ridiculous things we see around us and the general stupidity of modern life the way he does makes us feel like maybe we aren't alone out here after all. Lewis Black has an amazing way of getting up on stage and reminding us that some people get it and that there are still people thinking out there and that the world has not yet been completely overrun by the Kardashians. Lewis is very busy with tour dates right now, and he will be on tour all the way up until the holidays. You can see all those dates on his website, lewisblack.com. He was really gracious to make time to do this podcast. We sat in an empty theater for a while, and he told us all about his life, how he found his way to comedy, and who inspires him and has inspired him in comedy, and in music and in life. We talked about when me and Jerry first met him, and he gives Pergo some great relationship advice. It's Lewis Black, this week on the Patcast.
What do you do when nobody's looking? Nobody's looking. What do you do? What do you do when nobody's looking? Nobody's looking, looking at you. You got to get it while the getting is good. Laugh when you can, cry when you should. You got to give it till the giving is gone. Do what you can, then you move on. What do you do when nobody's looking? Nobody's looking. What do you do? What do you do when nobody's looking? Nobody's looking, looking at you.
You good, right?
You know Gaffigan?
Only through Twitter we direct message each other,
Oh,
but
do
I
you?
haven't hung out with him.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of his as well.
Yeah, no,
I'm a big fan of comedy in general. Yeah. I feel like, I don't know if you're into getting tarot cards read and stuff, but I had a reading.
This is enough.
I had a reading once, and they were like, your soul chose music over comedy because you knew the tortured life that you would live as a comic. And I was like, plus I'm not funny. That probably played a role in all of it. And but I'm here with Lewis Black, who I met years ago at a I don't know. We did a private show for Sony, right?
Some sort of a.
And you were friends with
some sort of
that
corporate whoredom.
Yeah.
Would you come in and we'll pay you a lot of money? And yeah, it was good. It was that made it worth the night.
That made it worth the night. And the first time Jerry remembers the first time we met, you shook my hand and you said "fuck you," and I don't know why, but it made a lot of sense to me, and we were friends ever since.
Yes.
So you live in New York City now?
Yeah, I live actually 3 blocks from where we're talking to each other.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But you came from the Maryland area.
I came from Silver Spring, Maryland, which is equidistant from Baltimore and Washington D.C.
And I just want to make sure that I have this information right. But you graduated cum laude. Am I saying this right? Summa cum laude. Sorry, I never went to college. There was those were no reasons for me to know those words.
Yep.
But
you go to the Berkeley School of Music?
No.
Well,
shit,
then
no.
This interview's over. Obviously.
Yeah, no one with jobs ever went there. But when you came up, you applied to all of the Ivy League schools and were accepted into zero of them?
No, I applied to Ivy League and others. I was just, at a guidance department that gave no guidance. They led me. I had no idea. I mean, seriously, no clue as to what I was looking for at a college.
Right.
And
you didn't know really what you wanted to pursue?
At that point in time, I didn't. But it was actually when I applied, I didn't. By the time that I got rejected, I kind of knew that I wanted to go into I wanted a school that had a theater program.
Right.
And but all of these schools had just rejected me out of hand.
Right.
And the only one that accepted me was like Georgetown, which was too close to home. And I was like,
you didn't want to go there.
No, it's too close. Really, what am I going to do? And then also they didn't really. I realized they didn't have a. I would have gone there probably if they had a theater department. They didn't have a theater department.
But you didn't want to go as an actor, or to be an actor. You wanted to be a playwright.
Yeah.
Like the only 2 playwrights I really know much about are Shakespeare. And you think that's a guy or a group?
It's a guy.
It's a guy.
Yeah, and it's really
You thought it was one guy who could write all that incredible shit.
Yeah, somebody with some sort of a problem. Only somebody with some sort of a really deep-seated problem could write that much. Yeah, I think it was him.
And
I think that working with a company, I've always felt that was that. I don't know. I don't read a lot about how his plays. I never have read a lot about how his plays were done, except that I knew that he had a company of actors. So
right.
I think that helped.
Right.
So that he was writing for people. And I think that made a difference. It's like, when you got a band, you do your music, Schmucky does this and Fruity does that and Freddie does this and
right.
kind of and then they grow.
Yeah.
And so, that I think that had something to do with it.
And was Shakespeare why you gave a shit about that stuff? Like Neil Simon is someone I think about as a playwright
right,
too.
Yeah, no, I just liked theater a lot. I didn't really know it was going to be playwriting. I liked theater, and I really
did. You have that in high school? Was there theater there? Like what
my parents took me. My dad started.
They took you to plays and shit.
Took me
and
to
so
plays.
You were like, this seems like maybe.
It just fascinated me. That what really, the deep-seated thing, which you don't realize at the time, was. That you go into a room and somebody creates an alternate reality and you all join in and get into that, reality. And that to me was mind-boggling.
Right.
Everything else was kind of like, okay, here's numbers on a page, write a paragraph, do this,
right.
do that. This was this was, it was magic. It's like music.
It is magic like that, isn't it? When you're in a room and the lights are a certain way and all of a sudden you don't have to think about shit for an hour.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful.
And it was strange because I went to I was lucky that was at the, that they don't do it anymore where they don't really, take, they could give a fuck about arts anymore in the school system because
right.
it costs money and God knows what a horrifying thing to expand the consciousness of a child. just shove their face into a computer. That'll really do it.
Yeah.
So I had, we went to concerts. We went to the symphony. There was a National Symphony.
Were
in
you an
Washington.
only child?
No, I had a brother.
Oh, you had a brother.
Yeah. See, but I went to the National Symphony, and we did 6 of those a year. But that didn't somehow. I thought it was amazing, but it didn't really get to me, and the way that theater did for some reason.
And so, were I saw your parents in one of your stand-ups yesterday, the Old Yeller.
Yeah.
And you lovingly referred to them as lazy. And I thought that was a really lovely way to, hey, Mom and Dad, thanks for coming. As though you weren't stressed enough. You should invite your fucking parents to the gig.
Well, they're both 96 now.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah, it is.
So really what you're saying is they couldn't hear a thing anyway.
Exactly. They're just
they had like some kind of...
Yeah, really. They
were listening to Snoop Dogg.
They knew by the end of my talking there'd be food.
One of your bits was that hunting. Who the fuck hunts like that? In my house, my parents they took us out hunting for buffets.
Yeah. It's the Jewish hunting.
Jewish hunting. Yeah. But what a crazy did you realize that with a guy that could graduate at the top of your class, that you had that kind of capacity to memorize shit, but also your IQ is probably a certain level, that you would choose the least paying gig of all gigs other than being a dancer?
Yeah. You mean playwriting?
In playwriting. Yeah. I mean, really, that's...
at the time...
But you didn't give a shit. I
didn't care, and I was delusional. I mean, there was some sense of this was... freaking me out. Wow.
He keeps moving your mic closer.
Really, I've got a tenuous hold on reality, you son of a bitch. He made the mic move in my face. I thought it was magic. It's the tarot cards. He's got a guy who can move mics without touching them.
It's just a Pergo.
No, I forgot what the fuck was I going to say.
About being a playwright as the income that would come in.
Well, I just didn't. I thought, but I've said this before, that my dream was that I would write plays and teach. And the teaching would basically support the playwriting habit. That's like being a playwright is it's like having a drug habit. Really, I mean, you're kind of like, how am I going to get the money to sit around and write this stuff?
Right.
And I wanted it, but my main idea, especially was in college, was that I would teach at a small Southern girls' school where they'd never met a Jewish man before. That was my dream.
That was your dream.
That was my dream. And it just didn't work. It just didn't work out.
Will you celebrate, is it
Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah tonight? Or today?
It's today. Look what I'm doing, schmuck.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
No, I don't. I'm out.
You're out, yeah.
Yeah, we left
like
the
Jerry
club.
and Pergo and I, we all went to some type of Catholic something. Like Pergo got his master's at a Catholic college at Fordham.
Fordham, wow.
And
no, it's
Jerry,
all right though. I like it. If it wasn't Catholic, it would be really tepid. But the fact that there's punishment.
Yeah, that's how we're all. Because Jerry's from Ohio and Pergo's from New Jersey and I'm from Pennsylvania, so we all grew up with a similar comedy, which was just hurting other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it starts in the house, you hurt everyone in the house, and then you extend and you start to hurt your friends, and then you end up Louis Black and you hurt as many people as you can.
Yeah.
But that's why comedy like yours is so important to people like us. But it sounds like the road to get there is just real hell.
Not after playwriting. After playwriting, it is like it was like, oh, if I do this and then do this, there was at least some sort of a vague path, as opposed to playwriting, which was like, hey, we're going to send you to an abusive orphanage and try to get out.
You have to try to get out.
Well, I mean, I would write plays, I would send them off, and there'd be no reaction. I mean, seriously.
Have any of them come back later and actually worked?
Well, I mean,
you become like a known comic, and then you go like, hey, I have all this backlog.
What finally has happened it took, from the time I wrote my first play till the first play was published, which was last year, was about 45 years. It only took 45 years to get published.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
What was your first play called?
I might as well have written these plays in blood. The first play, I can't even remember the name of the first one. It was a one act. It was horrifying. And a child's play. That was what it was called. And I wrote a musical with a friend of mine. Everything was leading me to believe that I might have some vague career in it. I was always I would write stuff and then they would go, oh, why don't you do this? You know, so there was a step ladder. I was, that thing. There seemed to be some sort of a thing until it became like turning pro or something on some level. Because I wrote a play that was a musical. My friend wrote the music.
And so far, I'm not hearing you say that any of them are comedies.
They're dark.
Okay, so there's comedy in all of it.
The first one was not a comedy. The first one was just wrong.
Okay.
It was just the first one was really way dramatic and way over the top, and then they started to be really dark comedies, really kind of dark. But I wrote and they were all kind of serious comedies. But I wrote a musical that was me and my friend. We were both at the seniors in school at that point, and he was at George Washington. The theater director there, he'd already written one musical to Shakespeare thing, an As You Like It production. So he said, the theater guy there, the head of the department said, we're opening this new theater, we would like you, and do you have someone you would write a musical with? And we basically wrote a musical together. It was 2 hours and 10 minutes long, no intermission. No intermission.
No intermission.
I said, if we let them get up, they'll never come
back. You have a quote that says, the dumbest people in the world are assistants to celebrities. And so Pergo, he acts as my assistant for the most part, and he wants to know why you hate him so much.
No. This is what I did say. Because now he's just making stuff up. This is like being on a Republican radio station. No, I said, I believe, because I've got an assistant. I don't need that shit going out. I like that. She's on her honeymoon at the moment. I've come back. Son of a bitch, I heard what you said. No, what I said was that a GQ article. You're reading GQ?
He went to Florida.
I'm going to have to look that fucker up. Because I believe what I really said was that most kids, they had a thing where they asked kids what they really wanted to be. And what they really wanted to be was assistants, to a celebrity. That was the top choice. Not like, well, when I came out of school, we were going to work in the government. It was like, public service. Now it's like we're down to like, I want to assist a celebrity. Are you fucking kidding me? So my response was, that's about as dumb a fucking choice as you could make. If you're choosing what is the thing you'd like to do most, have it. Can we shoot that? And it's that whole thing of that cult. It's that Facebook, fucking Twitter, fucking all that. That goddamn fucking housewives of fuck all. That group of, really. And they find the strangest group of fucks, and boy, aren't they interesting.
And so,
why don't you be an assistant to the fucker on Duck Dynasty? That'll be interesting.
He's got a beard.
Yeah, you're good. You're good to go.
That's the thing, is that Pergo's twice as smart as all the rest of us. I think there's a plan to kill us all. So there's something happening.
Oh, no, it's just skimming. He's just skimming.
He's skimming. Yeah, it's true.
He did just buy a house.
It's funny when I think about guys like you who, you have all these, it sounds like, your parents are probably lovely people. They take you to plays and shit. I never went to a play. My parents would be like, here's a popsicle, get the fuck outside.
In Pennsylvania, they took you to a cave.
Yeah, we went to a cave. It was like we could listen to the Steelers game from outside the stadium.
Where in Pennsylvania?
Erie.
Oh, Erie. Wow.
You've been there?
Of course. I performed there 3 times. I did the comedy club there when I was rolling around. Moments away from Gateway to Buffalo. It's really something.
It's really sad. The gateway to Buffalo. No one's ever called it that. I brought a tear to my eye. Who became friends as you started your career? Because I remember, like, myself, when I would meet bands, like my first tour was a bunch of unknown people that we all together were an unknown tour,
Right.
which was really good marketing.
But sounds like you have my agent.
So we had friendships though, because it was competitive, but not in a way that really any of us were going to end up getting anywhere. So we didn't hate each other all that much. There wasn't the one guy. And then things started to turn for us. Then we were the hated band,
Yeah.
which made sense. I'd rather be the hated band because then that meant that maybe I could quit my day job,
Yeah.
you know. But who were the people that you came up with that like made you get up on stage and just start telling jokes and shit?
Well,
because that's a hard thing to do.
But I was on my own. Well, I was since I had this focus on theater. I had friends who had a band, and they were kind of one of those, you know, like I was Chapel Hill, North Carolina. They're kind of like the band that kind of hit there in a sense, and they two good songwriters. It was Mike Cross and Larry Reynolds, and they were, and my good friend really from there, the band was the drummer, Charlie Huntley, and we ended up. They opened a place in Chapel Hill. The first music place was called
Right, because you went to college in
University of
North
North Carolina, and they opened a place called Cat's Cradle, which is still there to this day. And
Do we know that place?
I don't remember playing there. Ben Folds, I think, was from there.
Yeah, Ben Folds was from there, and the Nut Zippers or Zipper Nuts. Yeah, but you know, look,
Oh, the Zipper Nuts.
I got two of the three. You know, there's a bunch of music that has come out of there, but at that point it was. At that point, it was these guys and a guy named Jim Wan who wrote Pump Boys and Dinettes, and he went the musical route, and is a really fine songwriter. So my friends got a gig playing once a week over a summer at Cat's Cradle, and my friend Charlie said, you know, you ought to really try doing stand-up, because I had funny stories I would tell.
How old are you at this point?
21, 20.
Oh, so
21.
it's early on.
Yeah. And so that was the first gigs I did. I went down there, and I would get up for like 15 minutes, and between they would do a set and a second set, and I would be the.
But you didn't have a
between.
style then, right?
I had
like-
nothing. I had
Because you have
nothing.
such a style, like you have a thing that
Yeah.
everybody knows very well. But that was just like in the beginning of developing.
Right. I mean, and really, all I kind of wanted to do was tell these stories, and they're really the first major lesson. You know, it's one thing to sit around with a group of people because there's always those people. You know, I can do what you do. I'm funny. Yeah. Okay, prick. Walk the 3 feet away from the table and get on the stage and
Yeah.
be funny.
Yeah, man.
And I was my style back then was panic. It was beyond. I listened to that. I usually. I used to play. We used to have in the tracks that we played before my show was stage fright, because it was like stage fright. Nothing. That's a sissy.
Yeah.
That's a crybaby song compared to the level that I was at. I was literally watching me try to light a cigarette on stage was just spectacular. I mean, where it became a part of the act, because it was literally my everything going. And the first time I was there, it was like, and I've listened. I can't listen to it. I've got it. I've still
Oh,
got.
really? You have tapes of that?
I have one
Are
tape
you
of
talking
it.
about the song Stage Fright? But
Yeah,
you would play it?
yeah.
You play it before.
Yeah, I would play it before, and it was to kind of prep myself, because I thought that'll relax me. Because if he felt stage fright, why would So it was stupid. So
You have tapes of all this stuff that you can't listen to at all.
I play. There's I've got. They're all sitting in a box. I've only listened. I've got the first or the second gig it was the second gig I did, and it takes me over 30 seconds to say the first word.
Wow.
And I go,
it's kind of amazing. It's a great start.
You remember last week? It was just, literally, and it takes me, and then I find, it was just, and I hadn't really gone to clubs, I hadn't gone nowhere, I was just doing it.
Yeah.
I put myself in a position, though, where I was doing it in front of friends. So.
And you were writing your own stuff, right? Was anybody helping you write at that point?
No, nobody. I just had these stories. I had a sex life that was spectacularly funny.
Oh, really? It was
Yeah.
it was comedy on its own because
of these things, the first time I
you
tried
were
to
trying to get laid in North Carolina and you're a Jewish guy. They've never seen a Jewish man before.
That was really pretty close to the truth. I went out with a girl who said that was my first date. She said, "This is so exciting. I've never even met a Jewish man before."
This is so exciting.
Yeah. And but I had these stories that from the time high school on, I was just complete.
Yeah.
Complete, because I'm at the I'm just at the end of it's still around, but at that point it was blanket sexual ignorance. When I was in high school, just blanket, we can't, even by the time I'm out of fucking school and gonna do a gig writing a thing for the Maryland Public Television about trying to get kids not to marry early, and I can't talk about birth control. That's 1970.
Wow.
72. No,
Crazy.
that's 70. Worse. It was 1977. So this is 70. So, and I'm out of high school, 66. And there is they might as well have given us. We had a sex ed class, and I did my teacher teaching sex ed. There was that kind of goofy stuff.
Right.
And then I did first time I tried to lose my virginity, and we couldn't find the right place, and that she seemed to have about 25 holes, but none of them. And I said at the time, she said, "I don't know." The first time there was kind of anything that felt like entry, she said, "I don't think that's the right place." And I said to her, "If you don't know where the right place is, I said, this could be the longest night of our life." I said, and I'm going to just tell you right now, I'm going to talk about this for the rest of my life, and I will be kind. So those are the kind of things I kind of talked about. The first time I touched a breast, and my friends told me, "You dial the nipple," stuff like that, goofy shit like that.
You dial the nipple.
Yeah, and so that was the stuff I was doing, and I was doing it badly. The first night I did it, I had a dog, I had a Cocker Spaniel, and I was on stage, and I was dying. And my dog, sensing, animals have a sense of when their master's in trouble. My dog came on the stage, and I said, "Oh," and I picked him up, and I did what I used to do at home. I put him on my leg so he looks like a dummy. So he's sitting there, and I had his hands like this. And I ended with, "Hey, you want to see how a dog masturbates?" And I then took this little pause, played with his penis, and the place exploded. And I thought, so I said, next week I'll be back with the dog.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then when did you start making friends in comedy where that led? I'm assuming that because I don't know what it is, but it seems like as an artist, once you hit the I don't give a shit phase, you start to get good.
Yeah.
Really, it's that place of, and so you're definitely not in the I don't give a shit phase at all. You're like, "Oh my God, I'm dying out here. I'm so scared."
There was a part of me that I was mostly doing it out of fascination because I never thought I'd go do this. And
Okay.
I thought, wow.
This was killing time and maybe starting to get material to write plays.
Right, and also to be able to write, because the thing was, it was a way to write something and get it up.
Okay.
Because otherwise, you write a play and you hand it to somebody, and then they use it to prop up a coffee
Prop up a table at Starbucks. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so I ended up. So it never really, and I kept kind of doing it on and off, and it wasn't until about 70. I go back to D.C. after college, and worked there for the federal government. And there's an audition for a place called the Brickskeller, which doesn't exist anymore, which was a club. And you kids are going to want to Google this, where folk singers sang. And So they would have they had a folky act each week, and they wanted 2 comics. And I went in there, and I had maybe, God knows, not a lot of stage experience. So I just went in to do it, to audition to see, and they hired me.
Wow, cool.
And I was having to do 3 15, 20-minute sets a night. And I worked with it was great. And that was all of my first experiences really were with bands. So, I mean, it was a folk singing duo. They were great guys. It was fun.
Right.
They knew I was no threat. By the time I was off stage, the audience was really ready. They could have played pots and pans and just shrieked at them, and they would have been.
And they would have ruled the night.
But it was great. I mean, it was like I did it every night, and I just took my lumps. I mean, because you just go out there.
Still, all the material is just all you, right?
It's all me, everything.
Has that changed over the years?
I'd say 96% is still on me, and I've got my opening act, a guy named John Bowman, and he especially when I'm prepping for a special,
right?
Where he'll watch and go, you're missing, you got this punchline here, you can do a callback there, you got this here,
right?
So he has
a callback. Things. It's so great. The comedy terms.
Yeah, and then so
were you always blue? Did you always go just say what you wanted to say, or did you? Okay,
I think. I mean, I was talking about sex. So what are you gonna say? Pokey, and then I played with my pee-pee in front of her.
Well, you said pee-pee the other day. In the old Yeller.
Yeah, I did. Well, you have to. My parents are there. They don't. They still don't know I have one. I always. I never minded swearing, and unlike many people, who think, that somehow profanity is, that comics use profanity to get a laugh. Well, no, I use profanity because that's
your life.
That's the way.
That's
I
my
speak.
life too.
Yeah,
it's hard not to. Like I don't on stage because there's a lot of kids there.
Yeah.
So if I say shit once the whole night, that's probably enough.
Yeah.
But that's not your crowd. They're not bringing their children to your
Hey
Soul
Sister. How old are
Sister.
these kids out there?
Like some of them are 4 or 5 or 10
Is
or
that right?
it's everything because
I thought when you meant kids, like a 14-year-old is already, playing a game where he's exploring a woman's vagina and the different magical spots.
There are those too. Yeah. There's I try to do the diagram.
You're going to say shit and they're going to go, boy, what a pussy.
What a fucking pussy. Yeah, I know. But during the podcast, I can say my personality because on stage, it's like, I kind of feel like I have I owe it to these families because if I'm going to write Hey Soul Sister that brings families, I can't be like, oh, let's fucking rock this fucking, that doesn't match. So, but the podcast, there are a lot of trained fans that'll be like, oh, my children and I, we listen to you every day. We're on our way to school, and then I come home and I listen to your podcast without my kids because that is not going to work for them.
Yeah. Well, I'm more than available to be your designated swear.
I would love that.
So you could kind of finish up a song and have me come out and go, fuck you. We're going to rock this fucker out now, you little bastards. What did you bring a 4-year-old for? Huh? You want the kid to go deaf? Get that little prick out of here. I'm more than willing to kind of come in. Radio City.
Everybody who shows up at Radio City would get a real treat tonight. That'd be awesome. So when did in this phase of now you start to think, when is it that you start to think maybe this is a career, or does that just take 10 years?
It took years because I never considered it a career until
even though that's your income now at this point, probably.
Yeah, but
right?
it was still theater. It was always going to be theater, and so the room we're in now.
So not only are you writing your 20 minutes, your act every night, but you're writing plays. Yeah. You're still writing the shit out of everything else.
But I'm doing stand up on the side, kind of like I would go, what am I doing? And then 6 months later go, I really should try to do this again. And I would do it just because I was not, you don't get plays up. So it's kind of like, what the fuck, I'm writing this shit.
But you have to be pretty ambitious. I mean, were you always as even
Or
a kid?
stupid. The other word is stupid.
Well, I wonder about that too. Like the willingness to work as hard as that, is I don't know. It's a destination that is unachievable. Like you're never gonna get to that thing where you're gonna go like, finally I can relax. Like it's just a part of your personality. But have you always been like that?
Well, no, but I didn't see it as work. I wrote plays. It was fun to write plays. All the stuff I was doing, I wasn't making a dime, and I was broke. But it never crossed my mind because everything I did, I liked doing.
Right. And are you still living in North Carolina for all of this?
No. No. I go from North Carolina. We go out to. I work with a theater company. This group that I work with in North Carolina. We buy a theater in Colorado.
Oh, cool.
So we're like a commune. Google it. And no spiritual leader. There was no Jim Jones. And we went out there and got this theater in Colorado Springs, and they were there a year and worked with.
You probably lived in it.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we couldn't get. They wouldn't give us. We're out there. We're like morons. We arrive in Colorado Springs.
Were you doing a lot of drugs?
No, not enough.
So you really,
Just pot.
It wasn't like
a little of this, a little of that, but
not
pot.
like a big hippie drug fest. You guys were working.
Yeah, we were working, but you do pot. I mean, God, I'm surrounded by people who do pot and work all the time, and you don't know it.
Right.
But but we would do, But I wasn't like we worked at a local high school. We did shows at there was a military base there. We did all of these shows around the community. We just couldn't. Our neighbors wouldn't allow us to use the theater. They said, no, you can't park there. You can't do this.
Right.
It was run by a kid who was the son of somebody in the community. He built the theater himself. It all looked like, it's that thing, it's a handmade theater. Ooh, it's going to be just wonderful. It was like that whole thing of, hippiedom at its finest. And it was great. And we did it for a year, but we were way too young. I mean, we were 22, 20, 21. And we did a play in the park in the middle of the city. We built a set in the middle of the city. It turns out it was like where they were dealing. It's where the main heroin trafficking was being done. We had no idea. We were just kind of like, now we'll go down here.
Right.
But it was great. We did a lot of stuff.
There was no weird 40-year-old guy leading you all into.
No, it was us. And then we found the theater, we found the school, and we did theater stuff there, and it was great. And then it just kind of imploded. And do you keep in touch with any of those people that you did that with? Yeah, a few of them, but not.
Are any of them in the business of
they're all
entertaining anymore?
One of my friends went on to become a director, but has moved on to that and to doing kind of the thing with industrials, and doing kind of. Same sort of presentations, but not, that make money. And as opposed to theater. I have a lot of them. One of them remained a set designer, works down in North Carolina. One of them two of them became. One of them ran a small theater down there as the artistic director. Another one is the head of the department of drama.
Do you ever have a chance to go see plays, or I mean, you live in the play capital of the world.
Yeah, I don't really get. I went to one yesterday, but normally. When I'm home, I'm like home 3 days. I kind of want to see my friends and actually, when you travel, you kind of like, do you want to? But during the summers, I spend my summers, parts of them up at Williamstown in Massachusetts. There's a theater festival there. And there I kind of go and watch plays or watch rehearsals and stuff like that. And,
when you do your stand-up today, or at least your current stand-up, you talk about how married people would always like to make you feel like a failure.
Yeah.
And then you realize quickly you're the winner.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, man, look at you fucking people. You hate each other and you're miserable. And but it's a pretty interesting choice. You just you seem like you would be such a great person to be around, like for a woman and a family. Like,
well, that's kind.
Kids would, like, when I see you, I just think like kids would really respond to you. But you just that wasn't what you wanted to do.
I would have if Yeah, I might have if I had if I wasn't I kind of realized I didn't have that dream of like the one biggest bogus fuck thing is that thing where they go, well, it's love and you just get married and then it'll work itself out. Well, no, it doesn't.
Right.
Okay. I mean, we're littered. We're a country littered with it didn't work out.
Right.
And some
true.
guys busting his ass to do this, and they're completely screwed. And there were also no tip-offs about mental illness when I was growing up. Oh, really? She's in the closet weeping 8 hours a day, and there's nothing wrong.
It's what? I know about that shit.
I know,
like firsthand. And I wasn't hip to that shit. I was a kid,
No,
so,
nobody is.
So then when you end up with somebody who might have some stuff happening and you're just this punk who's like, all I knew how to do was, tell dick jokes with my friends, sing songs, and try to figure out how to get $8 to get a case of Milwaukee's Best. Yeah. And then you add other stuff like complicated people.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait, I never knew this is possible.
Yeah.
Like you could lie like that? I didn't know how do you lie or tell, that's a pretty scary thing. So were you just smart enough to see that shit and go like, whoa, fuck that. I don't want to deal with that.
No, but I would get involved with, because it was like, it was that thing of like, I'll save her. I'll be the one to save her. Months, years.
So you fell for the same traps.
Oh yeah,
as all
bad
of us.
relationships. I truly believe this. We would rather be in before we even want to be single. A bad relationship makes people happier.
Let me tell you, Pergo would choose a bad relationship over everything right now. Like,
Is that right?
I go for the crazy ones.
Well, so do I. But you kind of eventually that the hamster wheel stops.
Not his.
Wow.
It ain't no sign of stopping that hamster wheel.
Wow.
Yeah, like every girl that I'm around, I'm like, boy, she seems like the one. She's fucking nuts. And he's like, I think she might be. Yeah, she treats me like shit. So that's where he's headed.
Nice. Nice. I did it. I've spent. It's a prison sentence. You fucking asshole. I don't know if you know it. There is, there are other ways for them to get a tin of water and some Spam. and not get banged in the ass on a daily basis. But it took me time to figure it out. And you will. You will. There's eventually a point where your ass is so bloody that you just go, oh, I got to stop for a while and sit down. And, and then you kind of go, wow, oh, that's right. Here's the problem. Here's dating advice from fucking a moron. But here's the deal. You have to realize, and this is the tough one, the reason you get involved with that kind of bullshit is because you don't know what you want, numbnuts. So you let this fucking, whatever, this magic fairy who shows up and is like really hot, and you kind of go, well, what do you want? Yeah. And you fucking load your fucking, she's got a dump truck, she's dumping on you, and you're going, oh, I can't eat enough of your shit. It's really tasty. And then once you realize eventually that you don't have to eat the shit, that there are things that you want, that you're actually determined shit, too. I mean, it's insane. I'm fucking... that's part of the reason it never worked for me. I mean, I just did not end up in smart relationships, but also, I was married to this. I was married to being a writer and a comic, and that's really what I wanted to do. And I wasn't making it; I was broke. Right. And when I started really kind of going on the road as a comic, here's another good move. Well, you know this. You're on the road, you fucking idiot. It's not like you go, hey, hi, honey. I'm not good at that. I was on the road like 45 weeks a year, going from Chummy's Chuck Fuck Hut in Peoria down to Digby's in Sausalito and all of these fucking places. Yeah. And I find myself on stage doing stuff, and then I'm working 6 nights a week, and I'm not coming home.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to establish.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, who do you establish a relationship with? A short, what do I get, a ham radio?
Yeah, that's, like Jerry recalls a time that he thinks that you were the only happy person that was at this place on New Year's. Well, you want to...
I'm not sure if I'm right. Where did you spend Y2K New Year's? Where were you?
Oh, I was in Chicago.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. My story's bunk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, make one
I drink
up.
a lot.
I was in Chicago on a terrace. And nobody came out. Yeah, at Zanies.
Because he remembers his wife used to work for United, or actually she still does, and so they would go on trips together. Even if she had to work, he would just get in the back of the plane.
And where did you think I was?
There was a bunch of comedians in Providence, Rhode Island, and they did a show downtown, and I thought that you were there.
No. No, I do have. I'm much like my friend Pat. I can astral project, and so I'm able to have 3 or 4 of myself working at any one time.
When you, I know that you were friends with Robin Williams.
Yes.
I know that you've had a lot of friends in comedy through all of this stuff. Who are the guys that you hang with? Like, it doesn't seem like you have much hang time, but when you do come back,
and it really is when I get to hang. I mean, the one that I really is my friend John Bowman, who's on the bus, and there's a kid at the Daily Show, Rory Albanese, who is executive producer.
I want to talk to you about the Daily Show too, but I won't interrupt you.
So Rory is one of them. I just had him. So I grab people if like John's not going to work. I'll grab someone like Rory just so I can spend time with them. But probably the closest friend I have to in terms of stand up and that for the long haul has been Kathleen Madigan.
Oh, that's cool.
Who's one of the she's the funniest person right now working, I believe.
Really?
I think so. I don't think they pay attention because she's A, a woman, and B, she's really funny. So why would they pay attention?
Right.
And she doesn't have a show. She doesn't have a TV show.
Right.
And they won't put her special on Comedy
Is she-
Central
is
because
she
she's
writing?
considered too old. No, she performs. She's
it's
like
all
me.
performing.
She's a road person.
But you don't write for anybody else? You don't have time, do you?
No.
I mean, you are so busy, dude.
No, I write stuff like I write like I've got this. I do a thing for the ACLU, and I'll write. They'll send me notes, and then I'll write out my response to something about, especially voter registration stuff. So I work on that kind of thing.
Oh, that's cool. And then
my teeny tiny the one tweet I do a month.
Yeah.
Where I have a fucking funny thing to say.
Really hysterical tweet, I bet.
I get one, but
worth
it's-
waiting for.
Well, I can't write in that form, so
It's just not your thing.
No, look at how long it took me to explain to Putz that he has. It takes. By the time I'm getting, getting to the joke, people are going, "Isn't there another podcast? What's he going on about?"
Right. One of Pergo's questions that he wanted me to ask you is, in comedy, the other comics that I've interviewed have been like Tom Arnold and Bob Saget. Those are friends of mine.
Saget's not a comic.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's just
an asshole.
He's the most perverted man I've ever met.
He's the best at perversion.
Oh no, I really like Bob. Bob's really. When we get to see each other, that's the problem. I never get to see these guys.
And when you do, like, there's a warm-heartedness that you all seem to share, but there's also, comics are notoriously depressed. And the ones that I've talked to, they're not them. Like, I mean, Tom Arnold talks about having been super depressed and being, fully engrossed in drugs and everything, but he's like this most easy guy to be around ever. But you must be around a lot of miserable people, right? I mean,
is it really
It's a miss.
You don't hang. Well, you don't hang with them.
Right.
Once it's like you don't. You kind of back off that. It's they're nuts.
Yeah.
Most of them. They've got certain kind of nuttiness things going on. But the depression thing is, that's pretty well hidden because usually if you're sitting around with people, and that you're at a table and there's 5 of you, you're on,
Right.
And
there's some probably pretty great shit going on.
Yeah.
Like everybody is. I mean, to me, when we are around each other, and the reason that my band, I think, has existed for as long as it has is when we sit around, we're the same way.
Yeah.
It's all like whoever can get the biggest laugh.
Exactly.
Because we don't sit around and talk about Jimi Hendrix and shit. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, what matters is who got the biggest gag. And then that's kind of the guy that you want to be around more than any other person, because that guy's smart and funny, and he looks at things in a different way, and you don't want to be around a fucking guy that's bummed out all the time. If there was a guy backstage at a comedy special and they were mopey and shit, you'd be like, all right, I'm good with that guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on to the other fellas, and let's go have something to eat without that fucking guy. Like, we would just behave like that as a band, and that's the way it's worked.
Yeah, that was
like,
funny.
half of my band isn't here anymore because they didn't have good enough comedy. Like, let's just face it.
Well, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first.
But, like, isn't it like that in general in your life? Like, the people you hang out with are the people that you either admire or are most like you or maybe most unlike you. The people that you go like, wow, I can really admire. Like, the fact that, like, Jerry's the most talented guy I know. Like, very unfunny. Maybe the least funny person I've ever met. No, he's
delusional.
He's got great
and
comedy.
as I've learned, delusional. Hallucinates.
And Pergo, you know, he's lovely to be around. He's got good comedy, and he's highly educated.
And he brings along a woman that you kind of go, holy God.
That's right. Wow, look at that. Look what you've done to yourself.
She's got zebra stripes. It doesn't seem to affect him at all.
Yeah. And you know, I think about the people that I spend my time with all the time, and you just reach a point where you go like, I'm just not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hurt myself anymore. And so
it's amazing how long it takes you to get to that. Though.
Amazing, right?
It is.
How long did it take you before you were like, I'm good, I'm going to be here? Like, you were on the Daily Show before John was, like, when Craig Kilborn, who does not like me, by the way.
Well, he doesn't like anybody.
He really doesn't like me.
I don't even think he likes himself.
He must not.
No.
Why do you know that?
Well, I was on the Craig Kilborn show, and
Good move. Good career move.
Well,
that explains. That explains a couple of years.
Yeah, to explain some shit. Those were the years that we were writing terrible music.
Who's your publicist? A cutter just sitting around you? I'm gonna find a vein here. Yeah, you're gonna do Kilborn.
Well, I sat on the chair to talk to him, and I made a joke, and that was where he was like, that's not the fucking way this works. It just seemed like that, because I was like, hey, man, because he said something, and I was like, oh, thanks. You know, like, you're a super attractive guy. I mean, and I'm saying that in a gay way. And he was like, get out. They cut it, and that was the end of my time on the couch. And I was like, okay.
Well, he's
is he a prick?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah. He was.
How come? What's
I
he
don't
so
know.
mad at?
I don't know. I think I don't know what it is. I mean, I think that when he went on to the Daily Show, I mean, this is just conjectures. My other job would have been, just a psychiatrist who makes shit up. But my feeling was that he came into the Daily Show, and he's coming from the sports thing.
Sports,
into
right?
That. And I think and into a room filled with really. Kind of comedy geeks and kind of hyper. Liz Winstead is about as smart a person as I've ever met in my life. And she and Hank Gallo, who was there, was one of the producers. And, we had all of these, the initial folks who were doing the correspondent thing. So I don't know if that made him, he's one of those people you wonder how much real self-confidence he's got.
Right.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, because I don't know what he's doing anymore.
No.
Like, I always wonder, like, man, he seemed to have a little show that wasn't getting big fast enough. And so he was mad about it. That's what that's the kind of the projected thing I got from television even. And then Jon Stewart is the opposite. Yeah, and I assume you're still friends with John because you still go do the Daily Show. Yeah. Like I've met him once, and he was nothing but lovely to me. And then you root for the guy, and you're like, I want that guy to win.
Yeah,
and
you just want people to have etiquette in the end.
But
And
it's the
people
same way
you
in
wanna-
music,
yeah,
right?
Right, exactly. And the people you want to hang out with are people who have energy.
Yeah.
Either can be, like in your case, the more psychotic the energy is,
Right.
is great for you. But but you want them
for you.
but you want somebody you want energy from
Yeah,
someone. I mean
right.
and you want to do that exchange of energy.
That's right.
And I think that's what so that's who you end up with, hanging with. And when and in my end of the business, the thing is because there's like, what is it, 3,000 of us or 4,000? I don't know how many comics. There may be.
It's
let's
a
say
small,
max.
small
It's
world.
it's a very small.
So you got to be careful, right?
Yeah, and you also there is an immediate sense of bonding because of it. Because when you sit down,
There is an immediate sense?
yeah,
Okay.
because you've all been through it.
Right.
So you've all stood up in a club, and the way I've always said, you learn comedy. The way you learn comedy is it's the equivalent of you're standing. You're going to learn how to box, only they've tied your arms to your legs.
Right.
And you stand there, and just a professional boxer beats the shit out of you.
Right.
And then you go home and you go, if I could have moved my right arm, God, I could have gotten it.
Yeah, right.
And then so each time you learn.
So
a
you
little
learn
bit
how
more.
to untie yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh.
And then come back and so you all have kind of gone through that, and a lot of you have lived through the, going to comedy clubs around the country. I mean, Jerry did it. Everyone, Jim, I believe, did it. We all went to these clubs. You spend 5 days there. You're in the middle of bumfuck, and you're, or you're like, oh boy, look, there's a Butterburgers across the street. That's all that's there. And you're like, wow, this is going to be, at least this is a good weekend. I can leave here and cross the parking lot, and I'm forced to eat Butterburgers for lunch.
Yeah.
It's not my fault. It's all I have.
What is the moment of like you're fucking there? Like you're one of the most well-known top stand-ups that exists today. What is the moment where you're proud of yourself, or that you enjoy any of this, or is it always you got to write the next bit?
Oh no, I enjoy it.
You do. Okay.
I mean, just saying.
So
yeah.
when is it like when you get adulation from a peer? Like if Jerry Seinfeld's out there laughing at you, or if you walk backstage and he's like, "Fuck, you killed," or what is the moment where you can like give yourself a little bit of a pat on the back, or is that just like
I'm constantly this whole conversation I've been like, slapping. God damn. Boy, aren't you something?
I'm fucking in the zone. Listen.
No, when I'm just, for me, I'm still at the point where I wake up, I go, I can't believe it happened.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't take any of it for granted. That sounds inside my head, if you can hear that. That's actually the sound of my brain casing.
Yeah.
So I'm still I'm kind of overwhelmed because but for the, I've really, like Kathleen is a brilliant comedian. And I think there will be
people don't know,
and
right?
People don't know her the way
And
they know
so
me.
you
And
always
she plays theaters.
You always have contact with someone who isn't where you are, so you don't take the shit for granted.
No, I don't take it for granted, and I think I'm lucky, and I think, and I keep wondering when they're going to come on stage and go, Mr. Black, you're going to have to go now.
Everyone found out.
Yeah, they know,
Yeah.
they know you're not funny anymore. Or when you're, because you end up in a personality. There's a personality that I present on stage.
Right.
What I am now is somewhere between who I really am and that personality. And when I'm on that personality on stage, that personality, in a sense, has a certain kind of a shelf life. That's going to work for X amount of time, and then it disappears into the night. And a lot of it is time.
But you keep writing too, and like, look, I never had a 10 million album selling record that I could be like, I don't have to work again.
Right.
And plus, I think that the advantage of that is it makes me want that 10 million selling record, even though it's not possible in today's world
anymore. But that's
I,
good.
But I still want it because that makes me
tremendous.
keep writing and wanting to get better, and that makes me want my fans to keep coming back because they want to see something new and interesting, but not just new. It has to be good and maybe better than ever.
Well, what they want to see is, and this is, I think, they want to see growth.
Right.
Because,
And so still, right, for you, you have to feel like you're growing for them and you.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, it really is it. I mean, and when I lose that sense, I'm done. That's I'm
right.
out.
Because you could be done, right?
Yeah, I could be finished.
But
and
I mean,
I could find that
saying,
Southern girls'
I'm
school.
saying you
I could find that Southern girls' school.
But you could be done as far as like, you don't really need to keep doing this, right? Except for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't need to do it. I could go and teach. I mean,
Right.
there's stuff that I could do.
There's stuff you could do.
You know, and but I still like doing it, and I still have this kind of a rabid audience that is like, please come out here and just yell for a while.
I know, man. It's so amazing. Like, what did I say? I saw Gaffigan come out in one of his things, and he told, like, he walks out on stage and says, you know, why don't you stop pretending that I did something amazing when all I did was walk out here and pretend not to be out of breath.
That's good.
But you know, you have 15 minutes left with me, and I just don't want to miss some of the questions that I wanted to ask you. But I had a friend a long time ago, one of my dearest friends, that made me move from San Francisco, that ended his life. And I know that when you and Robin are friends, and I don't know how close you were, but did you see any of that shit coming? Because you can't see that shit coming, right? You can't see a guy who doesn't want to be here anymore.
No, I knew that there was here's the story. I mean, in terms of Robin and I didn't know. I had no idea. I was clueless. And I think even if I knew, I wouldn't know what to do, because he was surrounded by people that I knew who were very close to him, like Billy Crystal and David Steinberg and his assistant, and they were really. So I knew that I didn't. I just if I don't know if they could have. You know, even they. You know, there's a help. You know that it's help. You're
Sure.
helpless. But the story is that I. Is that bothering? Is that?
It's loud now. Should I
Where
go
is
out?
it? Where is it?
I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
I'll ask him to give it.
I'm here with Pat Monahan.
They're replacing my brain.
Yeah, they really are.
But yeah,
this is the way I want to be heard.
And I'm not saying that it would be something you could have done or that I could do, but like I always, there is the cry for help guy.
Yeah.
And then there's my friend, he came to visit all of his friends, happier than I've ever seen him. And it was his way of saying goodbye. It was fucking miraculous. Like when I look back at it, I still can't believe
that right?
it.
And then
yes. Because we were like, man, he's doing better than ever. And
Did you know it was
and then he
coming?
went back to
But did
Marin,
you know-
and the next day I got a call that he was gone.
If I lived in Marin, I would last there 3 days.
Really? Man, I love Marin. You hate it.
Why?
You're just not. It's not for you.
Okay, that's the end of this. If I have to explain to you why Marin,
Okay.
it's precious.
Yeah, it is precious.
It's way too precious. It's,
Okay.
It's a group of people who won't allow a train of any sort of high-speed rail that might get from San Francisco up further north, so that people might be able to do this without sitting on that godforsaken piece of shit highway.
Yeah, man.
Because it's really
101.
important, because the nothing that would be on that stretch of land,
Yeah.
you know, who knows what little critters might, you know, whatever.
You know what? I all of a sudden hate Marin.
No, I have trouble. It's a little too laid back for me.
Yeah.
I mean, to say the least. When I lived in San Francisco, and this is for a month, I had a play done there, and at the Magic Theater, and I had I was out there for a month, and this is like 30 years ago, and I felt like if I was not present in the city, that the city was so laid back that I was the only reason the lights were coming on. I was like, really? You really? And also...
Everything's really
And I
gonna
get
be
it.
okay.
I really understand the beauty end of it.
Right.
But I would not get anything done. I would just sit there all day going, there is nothing I can do at all today that will be any better than what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
It has been accomplished. It's like when I read...
Yeah, it's
like
true.
when I read a play that I knew that I can't write like this. This
Right.
is way beyond my...
But when you write in New York, I write a lot of songs in New York.
Yeah, of course you do, because, you know...
It feels like there's plenty of room.
Yeah, well, there's energy.
Yeah, it really is.
It's really important.
It is.
You know, it's this, and I guess, you know, there's certain areas that have it, but that area just doesn't for Marin, and then what is it, Mill Valley? I've got a friend in Mill Valley.
Yeah, me too. It's just a lovely place. You can't get shit done there.
Why would you?
Why would you?
You know,
That's right.
You know, except I would probably grow fur and become a cat.
Can you do that?
You can if you want. If you want anything,
Yeah.
kids. If you want anything bad enough.
Right. Well, I'm going to ask you these last few questions
It's no
because
problem. I really am good.
You got a few.
Don't worry about it.
Well,
I'm talking to my shrink next, so this has been a good prep.
you know,
I am. I'm
so,
serious.
And so there was really no sign from Robin or anybody else that you've known in the past that doesn't want to exist here anymore, right? When a person decides whether you're a comic or anything else, like that's not something that there's any holding back, right? You
No,
can't
I don't
fix
think
that
you
shit.
can, you know, it's the tough one. I mean, because it's like they're going to drive the car into the wall. There's nothing you
Yeah.
can do. I mean,
Yeah.
and I felt badly only because, in retrospect, and there wasn't. I didn't know. When somebody says I'm an alcoholic, I mean, Kathleen and I describe ourselves as alcoholics, and maybe we are.
Do you still drink?
But I still drank. So I don't really. So when Robin would say, you know, I knew Robin had problems with
Sure.
a variety of substances, and I was doing the movie with him in Toronto, and I was with him literally. I was the longest outside of him, the one who would work every day. He worked, you know, and me, and I was around a lot. And at night, about halfway through the production. Especially when he had to do some scenes, big scenes in front of he's running for office and he'd have to do these big crowd scenes. He would kind of come down after we'd done those scenes and before we did. And every night I'd have a couple glasses of wine at the bar.
Yeah, I'd like to do that with you someday.
Yeah, that'd be good. I've got some really good.
I'd love to drink your wine.
Yeah. As long as we're not Marin. And so I ended up, I would be there, and Robin would come down and have a shot of tequila and an espresso.
Wow,
Yeah.
what a crazy combination.
Yeah, yeah.
Guess what I'm doing tonight?
Yeah, exactly. And he started, and he said, you know, I think I got a problem. Now, because of my problem, that I know I have it. That I went, so I would say as the joke, well, if you got a problem, then I need to enter rehab tomorrow. Not realizing that he was in the midst, and yet when we did that film, I don't think if he was drinking while on the set, I would have no sense of it. There's no sense in the movie of it. I never was around him.
Yeah, of course.
And then we were at we played this comedy club, just for him to, you know, we did this, he would do that thing. We all went down. There was a friend of mine who, I knew Toronto well, and there was a good friend of mine, a comic there, really great comic, Mike Wilmot, another comic that should be seen a lot. And Mike came, we all went down to like an open mic night. So, and afterwards, we hung out in this, in the parking lot, and Robin was smoking a joint and drinking a beer. And was so... I mean, he was so fucking funny that it never crossed my mind.
Right, yeah, this can't be a problem. You're the funniest person around.
I've watched thousands of guys like this, or women too.
Sure, yeah.
That was like, and it was like, this is a once in a lifetime. This is not anything that you're gonna ever see. I mean, this is like this is what you wait for. I mean,
sure.
And so when he announced afterwards that he was going into rehab, then I went, oh boy, and he came out, and I saw him again after rehab, and he'd gotten together. I think he was getting married at that point, and I thought, wow, and she was very nice, and I thought, wow, he's on track, and I got in touch with him. I was hoping to do. He was on this TV show, and initially there was a shot that I might have some sort of a small thing in it. The show that David Kelly wrote, the advertising show, and he went on to that, and I saw him. I was in touch with him. I was doing a big thing, and I wanted him to either be at it or send a video for a fundraising thing for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and he sent a tape, but because he couldn't make it. And this, I think, was part of it too. And this is when but it's in retrospect.
Sure.
He couldn't do it. He couldn't get it done because he was working. He got it done, but it was so tight because he was working up till the Friday. They wrapped the show. Saturday, Sunday, he flies out to go to this place he goes in Vancouver, I think it was, or he goes in Canada. He goes north, and begins on Monday shooting an action movie.
Wow, he's working his ass
He's
off.
working, and you know what that can do to you.
Sure.
And so, and then and then they dropped the series, and da-da-da-da. And so part of it is the amount of work. I mean, I know from a fact that I'm like if every so often I go, this is what's going to kill me. I'm crazy. Why am I doing, the 700 interviews followed by this or that?
And what makes you? I'm in that place right now, actually, because I have a lovely wife and the people I want to spend time with, and I've been on the road doing promo for this record, and I haven't been home in 3 weeks, and like 3 weeks for little kids it's starting to become something.
Yeah,
and
it is,
3 days is like one thing. 3 weeks is like, you start to get mad at your dad kind of shit. Yeah. And so you do stuff to show your mom that fucking guy better figure some shit out. So I'm starting to feel guilt too. It doesn't make me smoke more pot and drink more wine.
Yeah.
But it definitely, when I have a glass of wine or I get high, it feels better.
Yeah.
And that scares me more than anything because I don't want that to be the thing that I do so that I feel better.
Well, don't worry, I'll be your designated drinker. There's a lot of stuff I can do for you. Seriously, if you just put me on salary, I can quit the bullshit I'm doing. I'll handle your interviews.
Man, I'll tell you, this might be a good trade, better trade than you think.
No, it's tough though, but it does become that because it is, and it's also because of what we do.
Have you found a balance though?
Does it look like it?
I don't know. Like you tour a lot. Like
sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes when it's like that's why I see a shrink because sometimes it's like I can't believe I, did this. That I shouldn't have been drinking that much or I shouldn't have done that. But also I kind of realized after a while, it becomes a matter of there is no space. It's like up, and especially when you're doing that promo. Boy, talk about masturbating on another level. It's really, that promo is like
right?
the worst. And let me talk about me, and let me talk about me, and let me talk about me. And none of us, unless you're really a fucking narcissist, give that much of a shit about ourselves.
Right. But see, the other part, though, for me has been this. It's been the thing that makes me tired is the guilt.
Yeah. Not
the work. The work is almost like nothing. Like Jerry has kids too. They're little and
he has children.
I know.
And how many of you've got 6 zebras?
He has no idea. Wow. But the guilt, I'm surprised you like wine as much as I do because there's always been a joke about Jews or Irish that don't drink, or Irish or Jews that drink, and so we have similar feelings of I'm terrible. I need to not do these things, and so the guilt is what takes over the exhaustion for me, and what makes me not sleep well, and then I'm fucked for the next day, and then
that's tough. I mean, if you got the family, that's tough. What are you going to do?
I want to quit.
Really?
I want to quit more often now than ever.
Yeah.
But then I go like, well, I'm doing my best work. I've never done better work. How do I quit? That sounds stupid.
How old are the kids?
30. No, I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. And then I have older children too, 21 and 17. I already fucked that up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I guess I'm thinking, do I fuck round 2 up too, or how do I make sense of this?
But part of it is if now does your wife work?
No.
Well, then get her to sell merch.
Get her to sell merch. Woo,
ladies and gentlemen, looks like the solution to every rock and roll marriage. Get her to sell merch. I mean, Well, I mean, it's the thing. Like, there are women who will say, I don't understand how come I just can't come on the bus with you, Lewis, and travel across the country, and we can just
Sure.
And it's I can't be your fucking life.
Right.
I can't do that. However, if you could find some sort of, since you do have a certain amount of control at certain times, you can basically set it up as Gaffigan did. I think Jim did it, where you grab the whole family, put it on the bus.
No, he's doing it in a way that I just have different. Like my wife and I have different ways of looking at like school and shit like that. Like our kids, we go like, okay, what's the balance? We can either all come out and live this thing that is not nearly as glamorous as people think it is, and it's
exactly.
not fancy, and it's not fun, and it's fucking...
It's work.
It's work. Or do I at least let the balance of giving my kids a routine and go to dance class, and, like, we benefit from the money that this brings by having some normalcy. Like, and that's what the balance is.
But that's the thing, though. I mean, but that's also it. Then stop fucking punishing yourself.
That's the thing. I don't know how to stop that.
I'm going to be
part.
talking to my shrink in about 25 minutes.
I'd love to be on that phone call with you.
Double up. I mean, because guilt is the tough one to get over.
Yeah.
And being Jew, being Jewish and you being Catholic, I mean,
or Irish. It's
Irish
the
Catholic.
Irish
Well, that's
part.
the reason Kathleen and I are close, because she's got we have the same problem. It's like it's like looking in a mirror and but it's inverted.
Right.
It's the I've always
and her part's way better looking.
But the Jews created guilt, and then the Catholics codified it, and then the Protestants turned it into tension. But we have the guilt train really wrapped up,
you
and
created
that's a tough one to get over.
It is.
It always
man.
is.
Is that? I mean, I've had a therapist, but I haven't used her in a while. But I guess maybe I should. Start
Well, you should.
About
I mean,
using
because
it.
it's really. And I have a great therapist. This is really the saddest conversation I've ever had.
Well, I mean,
but I'm serious. Who deals just with artists? And
it seems like she's working out great for you.
Well, she is. I've been able to sit here without slapping you. But I am quite serious. She works
she's
only with artists.
She's really good, huh?
I think she's tremendous, and she's out there near that Marin thing.
And she gets it. Is she really in Marin?
She is. No, she's in San Francisco now. But she's
because
near
my
Mill
woman's
Valley.
in Marin.
Huh?
The woman that I use is in Marin.
But she's tremendous. I mean, and she really did help me in terms
that's
of
cool.
guilt, because it was, and there was, but there's a lot of stuff involved. But since she deals with artists,
right,
in that sense, mostly with actors and stuff who are even make musicians look like,
right,
like
it's true,
like holistic, whole human beings. That as a result of that, she's I mean, and I've had her come to see shows of mine and stuff, and she goes, oh, okay, now I get it. Like,
right.
She sees the bus, she gets this, so she knows what the life is
right.
like.
Yeah, that's
so that it has made it really easier to, so she gets it.
Right.
And there's not a lot of, who they've got no basis in. It's like my parents talking to me about what I do. They can see it.
There's a perception that is so foreign. Like when I'm on a commercial airplane, and all the people that ask me, "Why would you be on this plane and not a private jet?"
Yeah.
Well, because a fucking private jet's $35,000, and the gig I'm going to pays $1,500. Like that's why. So
it's exactly it.
But and plus, I don't want to be so stupid with money. Like I've lost everything I made at one point, so I don't want to do that again. But just so that I can let you go have your life back, I just wanted to ask you 5 really quick questions.
Sure.
To finish off and say, man, believe me, thank you so much for sitting here like this and not hitting me. But what is a great tour find that you can tell people from having traveled the world like you have? Like a place that you have to go to every time you go to, you
mean like a restaurant or
it could be, or a music store, or, like one guy said he found a girl. And he was like, that was my tour find.
That was his find?
And then she left him.
Well, where is she? Why don't you give me some fucking information? Here's what I found. I found there's 2 gigs that I did where were major finds, and that are places. One is Bergen, Norway.
Nice.
Which is absolutely stunning.
You do gigs in Norway?
I did them this summer. I toured Europe. Bergen is absolutely magnificent. and it's weird because it's what it's like. It's like if it's Seattle or if Seattle had 250,000 people as opposed to a gazillion.
Right. Well, in Norway, there are a lot of Norwegians in Seattle. That was where they went to fish.
Yeah, well, except for the others who who went to Minnesota because they just were too shit-faced to keep going. And then there's, and the other place I went it was the Broadway tour. This is where playwriting turned. I did a run on Broadway, and so they put me on a tour with eight really great Broadway singers. I mean, majors: Brian Stokes Mitchell and Liz Calloway, Judy Kuhn. They're really the top of the game. And the gig was a boat that went around Tahiti. Tahiti.
We went to Bora Bora.
Yeah, I think I do 5 minutes of my act on it now. I'd like it to be a longer.
If you were president, you would invade Tahiti?
I would be, yeah. If I was president of the United States, it's the only thing I'd run on.
You'd take it. You'd take Tahiti.
It's the most beautiful place I've ever played.
Wow, really?
It's the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life.
Have you been to Bora Bora, which is so really close?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the most beautiful place you've ever been to.
Yeah, I mean, every one of them, Moorea, all of those islands were
It's
spectacular.
incredible, right? You would choose it over Hawaii?
Hawaii's a shithole in comparison. Hawaii is a shithole.
Really?
Yeah, because there just isn't, it's really about, they've kind of maintained the environment. You don't have,
Right.
There isn't like a star, there's not the Starbucks, there's not this, there's no nonsense.
Right,
it's
right.
all mostly what it is.
Yeah.
And it's like come here and hang out. I mean, I was there, I literally, people go to Zen retreats for what I got there.
Yeah, right.
I came out of there going, why am I fucking...
That was my favorite part of your stand-up the other day was when you said that was what your generation was great at, is hanging out.
The greatness of my generation.
And then once the guy starts asking questions, and maybe I should go Google it, you go like, fucking, you're not fucking hanging out anymore, you're researching. Well, those are great finds. What are you a fan of currently? Are you doing any binge watching television or music or anything like that you can tell people about?
What's his name? Damn it! I just found this kid who I thought was terrific on.
Is he
on Spotify?
Oh, music.
Music. I just found him, and I'll try to find his name. But I watched. I like Masters of Sex. I like Ray Donovan. I liked. I loved. I'll tell you the one that really was Deadwood to me was like.
Oh, really?
The king of the road. I thought Deadwood and Breaking Bad.
Wait. Who is the star of Deadwood?
Well, there's so many of them.
It wasn't James.
Timothy Oliphant was one of them.
Oh yeah, Tim Oliphant.
And
he's a Bay Area kid.
Justified, which I like too.
Oh, nice.
I like all of those. I'm going to start. I haven't had a chance to watch House of Cards except for a few episodes. That's the next one, because
I'm freakish for Netflix documentaries.
Wow, yeah, that's. I know people who are. It's
like Bill Withers, the Still Bill documentary. It's incredible.
The janitor who wrote that song, right?
No. Well, I guess he was working.
He was a janitor. Do I have to provide all the information?
Yeah, I feel terrible.
No, don't. But that's what it might have been. His PR machine. You know what I mean? Because I remember when the song he sang, the initial.
He actually put toilets and built the bathrooms in airplanes.
Wow. Well, that's not.
And
right.
he was like, I don't really need music. So he went to try to get a record deal, and they were like, here's what we want you to be. We want you to be like this and this and this. And he was like, I'm good without that shit. I'm just going to do my own thing. And then he became, he wrote, Ain't No Sunshine When She Gone. Like, man, that guy's a bad dude.
And the other one, this kid I found, I don't know how old, Benjamin Booker.
Benjamin Booker?
Yeah. He's good.
Oh, cool. Okay, we'll
really
check that
good.
out.
He's got I just like the kind of sound and drive his stuff has got. And I've stumbled, every so often Spotify, turns up something.
Spotify's it's real good, man.
Well, and they remind you of artists you forgot about, too.
Right.
Why don't you listen to this, you schmuck?
Yeah, I love those. It would be really funny if someone like you wrote for Spotify, like, boy, you really been fucking this one up this week. You need to tune in to Janis Joplin's version of whatever.
I've got you actually on my, I had you on my iPod.
Oh, great.
For a long time. And then I said, enough's enough.
Yeah, enough's enough. So what's next? Where do you go from here? I know you have some gigs in
I'm in
Long Island.
Long Island this weekend.
So you go to lewisblack.com to check all that stuff out.
It has everything. I have a this is a shameless plug, but I have a fan club called Fuck You.
Oh, that's amazing. Is it spelled fuck you?
Yeah, it's F period U period C period. And it looks like a union logo. It's Union of Cynical Kindreds. I forget how I came up with it, and they. But it's like a $20, and but what it I started in part to beat scalpers. So by being
that's smart.
So by being because a lot of people, I mean not tons, but 10, 15, 20, 30 people every time I'm showing up in a city can't get the tickets. They're fucking wiping out the front rows. So now we hold the tickets. So they actually have the option on the tickets. And so that helps. And then also
Europe has figured out a way to keep scalpers away. And we just
Doberman pinchers.
Well, we just put our tour up, and they told us don't announce pre-sales. They don't want us to talk about pre-sales because they have like a club membership that you like. There's a thing that they do.
Yeah,
like,
well, that's essentially what I've set up privately for myself.
Yeah, it's really smart.
For a time, I was trying. I hooked up with a bunch of bands to try. A band would try to get a bunch of groups together and let's try to do this. And I'm in. And but what we're going to start to do, and we started this weekend in Westbury, is and it's already coming online. It's one of the things is that I'm not good at Twitter, but what I am good at is every night there's pieces that I do. So I did a thing on people who don't get vaccinated. I do it. People who I did this thing of people who don't get vaccinations. Who don't allow their kids to be vaccinated. So I went psychotic for like 4 minutes. And then we took that, and then it's out on Twitter now. And then I talked about Rob Ford. It was the night that Rob Ford and the Toronto Psychotic.
Oh yeah.
I happened to be walking on stage in Toronto when it happened, and so
that's
I
amazing.
thanked them for making me feel much better about my own leadership. And I went through that bit, so that's now out there. And then what we're going to start doing is showing it. I'm going to live stream out from where I'm at. I now have
that's cool.
I now have
all this will be on lewisblack.com.
Yeah, you can track it down through there. So the $20. So basically, for that $20 membership, I hate to plug like this, but it's just I don't know how else to get the word out. That you'll see. I'm going to do whole shows on there. So I'm going to
that's great.
Show the show, and then
so
also
like Louis did that, right?
Yeah.
And
but
Daphne.
I mean, that's it. You just pay for it, and then here's the announcement, and you can watch it or archive. It's a place you can find my archives.
Right.
But at the end of each show now, you text in. When they arrive, the audience arrives. They can text in anything they want to me.
Right.
Anything. Any comment about anything. If they want me to talk about something, if they're upset about something.
And you'll comment.
And then at the last 15 minutes of the act is I stand on stage and do it.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
but you have to be a member, and can people
but
find...
you don't have to be a member right now to get the stuff, because I'm shooting it out there to go, here's
cool.
what you...
So you don't have to be a member.
And also, even if we don't do it, it's like, even if we drop it's just, I don't have a TV show. I mean, outside of the small time on The Daily Show.
Do you want one?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I did want one, but now that I have this, it's fuck it. There's nobody between me and them now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We talk a lot about, like even this podcast, like if someone picks up your TV show, then all of a sudden they want their voice.
Yeah.
And you go like, I'm good.
Yeah.
But I have 2 more questions. One is, what are the other names of your social media? Do you your Twitter, is it still just Louis Black?
The Louis Black.
So the Louis Black. And then do you have Instagram?
No,
and Facebook shit?
I don't Instagram.
And I love your Facebook gags about, having to fucking accept everybody all the fucking time. And fucking. Now I got to hear that you made a fucking souffle yesterday.
And if you got some time, why don't you come over and blow me?
Yeah.
But Lewis, it's Lewis Black. It's not. So that's the one.
Right.
It's a Lewis Black comedian.
Lewis. And so my last question is, and I've never asked anyone if they would want to do this, but I think this might be a new ending. But is there anyone you'd like to say "fuck you" to before we go?
Who would I like to? Actually, yeah, fuck you, ISIL.
Yeah.
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 They really, well, yeah. Well, it's because it's like, you pricks. I got a bunch of fucking idiots here. Now they're responding, now because they're like a hornet's,
Yeah.
It's like a hornet's nest run amok, and then these idiots are all acting like they're being stung, and they're fucking not being stung yet. So,
Right.
fuck those fucking group of. It's unbelievable. Fucking, it's just beyond my comprehension.
Yeah. It's going to end bad for them.
But when we shouldn't have gone in, we went in. Now that we should go in, we're not going in.
Yeah.
It's like, and as I say in the act now, and. We're always 10, 15 days. We're like the kid who doesn't finish his homework until he's on the bus. It's like, gee,
Yeah.
we were caught spying on Germany this year. I'd say that's a little fucking late. Really? Couldn't get the spies in when Hitler was around, but boy, now.
Man, we're good at it now.
We are good at it now.
Yeah.
You don't notice ISIL? How do you fucking not notice? How does the Al-Qaeda have to tell you they're crazy people over there? And that's it. So fuck you, ISIL.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Lewis Black, so much for being on the Patcast, man. You're absolutely the best guest I've ever had, and I really am saying that directly to Bob Saget.
Well, be sure, and also be sure that Gaffigan knows that.
Yeah. I'll let Jim know right away.
Please.
All right. Thanks so much.
He's so
man.
gifted, Lewis. He's so gifted. You know what Lewis said?
That's not what Lewis did when he was on the podcast. All right. Thanks. Man. That was Lewis Black here on the Patcast. He's amazing, as now you know. If you aren't already familiar with his work, do yourself a favor and go check him out on Spotify or YouTube. And go to see his live shows, man. They're so great. He'll inspire you as a person. And as he mentioned, lewisblack.com is where you can find him and sign up for his fan club. He has dates all over the U.S. right now and straight up until mid-December. It seems like we might be in the golden age of comedy. There's a lot of very funny comics working right now and more ways than ever to find and hear them. Lewis is one of the greats. We're at patcast.com, SoundCloud, iTunes, Patcast Podcast on social media. So we'll see you next week, or at least hear you next week. I love you. Bye.